Tonight, investigations continue into the cause of a fatal plane crash at Lee Creek. And thousands of punters gather for this year's Port Augusta Cup.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. Police are continuing to comb the scene of an outback plane crash that's killed the pilot and his passenger. Aviation investigators will travel to Lee Creek today to start piecing together what went wrong. Garth Burley has more.
It was meant to be the trip of a lifetime, flying across the outback to see it in all its glory. But for two Queenslanders, the trip has ended in tragedy. The pilot, 59-year-old Peter Gessler, and his 48-year-old passenger, mother of five Rachel Whitford, were killed after their aircraft plummeted into bushland near the Lee Creek Airport on Saturday evening. The two were reportedly flying across the outback as part of a holiday. The Brumby 610 aircraft left William Creek Airport at 4 p.m. for its destination of Lee Creek. Witnesses saw the chilling final moments as it attempted its descent.
It turned a couple of times, came closer to the park, and when it got so far, it just disappeared.
Police were quickly on the scene to sift through the mangled wreckage. 2 days later, those investigations are still continuing, with representatives from the Recreational Aviation Authority heading to the site today. The aviation body says it will look at all possible causes for the crash.
We look at three things specifically: environmental factors, human factors and mechanical factors.
But it could be a while before we know those finer details. A thorough investigation could take up to 6 months. A temporary air exclusion zone, which has been in place since Saturday evening, was relaxed this afternoon. Police will be preparing a report for the coroner.
A fire has caused tens of thousands of dollars damage to a property on Alfred Road in Port Pirie this afternoon. Neighbours say they heard a large bang before seeing smoke billow out of the garage. Emergency services were quick to respond, preventing the fire from spreading to neighbouring homes.
Quick work by Port Pirie MFS contained the fire to the carport of Origin and stopped it from entering the house.
MFS say the fire was started from an electric drill, which sent a spark onto some nearby fuel. Property damage is estimated to be in excess of $70,000. The MFS is once again reminding residents to practice caution when operating electrical equipment. Flight Training Adelaide's abandoned its plans to continue a pilot training facility at Port Lincoln Airport. It follows on from months of public protests against the project and local council.
It was sky's the limit for Flight Training Adelaide, but now its Port Lincoln operations will be grounded. The training company announcing it'll scrap plans for its flight training project.
They did tell us that the owners were not prepared to invest heavily in a project where community support wasn't present.
Since beginning its trial earlier this year, FTA's had a bumpy ride within the community, many local residents raising concerns over the high noise levels and health impacts.
We know that people are affected physiologically and mentally, and this is really the driving force behind our fight against this development, is to protect people's health in the community.
Flight Training Adelaide now concentrating its efforts at a Qantas Pilot Training Academy at Wellcamp in Queensland, a welcome relief for some residents.
There's people that have left the region to, just to get away from the current noise, let alone the noise that would be impacting them should there be 22 aircraft here.
Mayor Joanne Quigley says the council and FTA have listened to concerns that were raised at public meetings.
What these meets and greets provided was the clear message from these communities that they didn't support the flight training activities at the Port Lincoln Airport, and the decision to shut down the operation was made.
The program will be discontinued by October. Nathan Rector, Sun Spencer Golf News.
A street on the edge of Broken Hill will soon be sealed thanks to federal government funding. Residents on Brown Street will no longer have to tolerate the dusty conditions.
For too long, residents living on Brown Street have had to deal with dust and dirt every day of the week. Soon it will be a thing of the past.
It's not just the dust, it's also the vibrations and the shaking of the corrugations that form on that road.
A recent funding boost from the government's Drought Communities program has seen the sealing of Brown Street project take a front seat. Council says some of the money was used to back the design process and the rest was put towards the restoration of Oxide Street.
Council spends a lot of money in maintenance on roads that aren't sealed. Every time it rains, it has to be graded, that sort of stuff. So sealing the road actually in the long run saves money for council.
Council says the Brown Street works were not included in its 2019-2020 budget as it was being compiled during project negotiations. Once final construction costs are known, it plans to add it into the budget during its quarterly review. The city's mayor says a date for construction is not set and won't be until costings have been determined.
Until we have the design in place, till we have the costings in place, and that then we'll be able to say when we can deliver on this project.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, the MFS warns homeowners to stay safe this winter, and Port Perry's Red Cross recognised for the Telecross program. Welcome back. The MFS are warning lives could be lost this winter if homeowners aren't careful when using heaters, with new figures showing a spike in house fires during the winter season.
Up in flames within minutes, sparking a full-scale emergency. A heater left too close to curtains, erupting in a ball of fire.
Fires spread quickly when they are unattended. We recommend that heating devices aren't left on when residents leave their properties.
Thankfully, this was a controlled demonstration, but for some it's reality. The MFS says over the past 4 years, 140 fires have been caused by heaters. They say all of which could have been prevented.
They should ensure that combustible materials such as clothing and bedding are kept well clear of heaters and open fires.
The MFS renewing calls for residents to remain vigilant as we start switching on the heaters, keeping children and pets a safe distance away.
We also recommend that large screens are used in front of open fires to ensure that sparks and embers do not come in contact with carpets, causing a house fire.
The MFS also say it's crucial to have your heaters regularly serviced by a qualified expert and to make sure your smoke alarm is working.
We recommend at least once a month they check their smoke alarms around their house to ensure that they're fully operational.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Cleanliness at Broken Hill Eateries is at an all-time high, following recent results of the Scores on Doors program. The non-compulsory program allows businesses to receive a star rating, coinciding with their recent health inspections. Among the 42 Silver City businesses to be awarded a 5-star result, Addie Merrill's Cafe was one of them.
We've always tried to keep to the highest standard of health and safety and cleanliness.
Other 5-star eateries include the Tidville Hotel, Time on Argent and the YMCA. 18 businesses received 4 stars and the remaining 10 received 3. For a complete list, visit the Broken Hill City Council website. A project to construct a new weir in Wilcannia is on track. The State Water Minister's office declaring Stage 1 is complete and Stage 2 has begun. Patrick Reinke has the details.
Details for the location and size of the new Wilcannia Weir have been confirmed as the state government boasts that a third of the project is now complete. The new weir will be just over 5 kilometres downstream from the existing weir. It'll be 1 metre higher than the current one to ensure long-term water security for locals. Additionally, it will be capable of flow releases for water quality management. Water New South Wales has taken over as project manager this month. In a statement as part of Stage 2, it will continue with the next phases of the weir project. This includes regulatory approvals and its tender process. Water New South Wales are also on the ground in Wilcannia this week to inspect the weir's location and consult with the community. The construction of the new weir will start after Stage 2 is complete. An estimated completion date won't be penciled in until Water New South Wales delivers the project. The Wilcannia Weir project team will be holding a public meeting at the Central Darling Shire Council chambers tomorrow morning.
The Red Cross has reached a milestone, with more than 1 million calls being made to elderly and isolated Australians. Port Perry's branch has been recognised for contributing more than 100 calls a day.
Volunteers in Port Pirie have been busy looking out for the region's vulnerable, part of the Red Cross telephone service. The group has been checking in on elderly and isolated locals for half a century.
50 years ago, the Red Cross started the Telecross program, so it was to support elderly and vulnerable people living in their homes, and it was just a morning welfare check.
Recent data has revealed that 2018 was a big year for welfare calls.
And we actually made over 1 million safety calls, which we call the Telecross calls. And here in Port Pirie, we make about anywhere between 100 and 150 calls a morning.
With the region's elderly population continually growing, Miss Cunningham says the calls are growing in importance.
So they don't have family or friends to check up on them. They may not know their neighbours. So by having Red Cross call them each morning, it provides, I guess, a safety net.
Volunteer Diane Kennedy has been involved for 5 years.
I just enjoy the company when I go in and with the other callers is excellent.
She says it's something her clients look forward to every day.
And just love talking to the people on the phone because you just get so many different aspects of life.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Good work from everyone involved. Stay with us after the break. We'll have the latest footy scores from around the region. And Brett will join us with the latest weather forecast. Hello again. Thousands of racegoers from across the Spencer Gulf have headed through the gates for this year's Port Augusta Cup. Punters dressing their best for the festivities, with an Adelaide trainer taking out the day's most coveted race.
It's the centrepiece of the local racing calendar. Punters from all over the state barrelling through the gates for this year's Port Augusta Cup.
Fantastic. Great company, great food.
The 8-race program going hand in hand with the most glamorous and flamboyant outfits. Nicole Afford's stylish felt headwear proving a winner among the fashions on the field.
Pretty hard competition, so I wasn't sure if I was going to take it out this year.
While in the men, Chris O'Neill was voted the pick of the bunch for the 2nd year in a row.
I'm quite surprised because there's some really good looking men around here and some really fine looking dressed men.
As the band played on, trackside revellers did their best to stay hydrated.
Cheers! I started today with $20 in my bank account and I now have $0 and I don't know how I afforded this.
But for many, the day is all about the racing. Punters trying their best to back a winner. A few losses?
A few.
Backed any winners?
$0. Not at this stage, but we're hoping to get one in the cup, so yeah, fingers crossed.
As the clock ticked into the afternoon, racing fans pinned themselves against the fence to catch a glimpse of the main race. The dry track playing into the hands of Adelaide horse Delacqua, bustling out of barrier 2 to claim victory.
Well, we train down the beach, so we do have good success up here because obviously they're used to a dirt surface.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Looks like it was a great day there. Turning to footy now, and Prop Risdon and South Augusta continue to duel it out for top spot on the SGL ladder. Props were at home to West Augusta, looking to continue their winning run. Dominic Beaton has the weekend wrap.
The Lions will be eyeing off a top spot on the ladder after an impressive win against West Augusta at Memorial Oval on Saturday. The opening minutes of the game proving to tilt in the Lions' favour, with dominant assault into their forward 50. The second quarter proving to be a game of tug-of-war with both teams going goalless. It was in the third that the Lions took their game into another gear, widening the score to lead by 19 at the final change. West tried to play catch-up in the fourth but couldn't reel the Lions in, Props winning by 16. Over at Port Oval and Solomon Town boosted their chances of finishing third, with a 58-point win over Port, while in Port Augusta and it was Central versus South. Central's led at quarter time, but they were unable to keep pace with South, who remain top of the ladder on percentage. Moving over to Whyalla, and in the battle of the bottom, Rapina thumped South by 59 points, to all but hand the Demons the wooden spoon. West flexed their premiership muscles with a 48-point win over second-place Central. And a wasteful North were too strong for Waroona Bay, with the Magpies defeating the Tigers by 24 points. On the Yorke Peninsula, Kadina edged Wallaroo. The Southern Eagles defeated the Crows and the Central York won by 7 points over Moonta. In the Northern Area's footy, Crystal Brook eased past Orroroo. Jamestown Peterborough were too strong for Southern Flinders. And 5 goals from Hamish Nitsky helped Broughton Mundura to victory over BMW. And in Broken Hill, South and West played out a nail-biting draw. South coming from 3 goals down at the final change to split the points, while North handed Central a gobsmacking 176-point thumping. And that's a wrap for football in the regions. You can expect a big weekend ahead in Port Pirie with a Sandfell showdown and the SA Country League Championship being played in town.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Brett.
Good evening. It's been a mostly fine day with areas of morning fog about Port Augusta and the mid-north. Maximum temperatures sat a degree or so above average. And look, we've got them lined up in order today. Port Augusta with a top of 18, Whyalla and Port Lincoln 17, Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Adelaide all 16 degrees. To today's clouds, where we can see a high pressure system near Ceduna moving slowly to the north. Moving on to tomorrow now, and let's take a look at the Gulf waters, with northerly winds tending northwesterly at up to 15 knots and seas at 1 metre. We can expect almost 10 hours of sunlight tomorrow, with the sun rising at 7:25 and then setting at 5:24 in the evening. And it's going to be a cold one tonight before a mostly sunny day tomorrow, with morning fog and frost expected at Port Augusta, Whyalla, the mid-north and the Yorke Peninsula. Port Augusta, Whyalla and Woodner with tops of 19, Cleve 18 tomorrow, Port Lincoln, Corn and Port Pirie all 17 degrees, Coffin Bay, Broken Hill, Kadina and Adelaide 16, Clare a top of 14. Looking ahead to later in the week with showers expected over Port Lincoln and strong winds on Wednesday as well. The Eastern Eyre Peninsula expecting showers as well, possibly heavier falls over Woodner on Friday. Whyalla afternoon showers on Wednesday but remaining fine Thursday and Friday. Port Augusta looking partly cloudy Wednesday and Thursday with showers coming along on Friday. Kadina with evening showers on Wednesday continuing through to Thursday morning. A medium chance of showers in the mid-north on Wednesday, most likely in the afternoon and evening. Thursday partly cloudy with morning showers and showers on Friday as well. And finally, Broken Hill looking sunny on Wednesday, fine and partly cloudy for the rest of the working week. And John, that brings us to the end of today's weather segment. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Brett. And that's the local news this Monday evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll have some updates later in the evening, but until then, enjoy your evening here on 7. On behalf of the team, it's good night.